This is the Mighty Books Podcast. Hello, everyone, once again to another episode of the Mighty Books Podcast. Today, we have Sean Brown and April Emerson. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good, Ryan.
We're doing great, Ryan.
Awesome.
Is that weird?
Nice octave there, Sean.
Very nice octave. You can talk over the whole interview.
That's my partner there. Yeah, we're excited.
with Ryan. We are excited.
She told me we are excited about being here, so therefore we are excited.
I don't believe that for a second, but all right, cool. We'll get going anyway.
Okay.
All the jokes today. It's good stuff. So today we're here to talk about, normally we talk about books and all the lovely things because, you know, mighty books, it's a thing. Today we're talking about a little different, the L.E.T.M.E, The Journey, which is actually a TV show you guys are producing or have produced and are currently doing that. But both of you are obviously authors in your own right. We've actually had interviews, each of you.
Mm-hmm.
Were fabulous, fun, and amazing. So you know,
great words. Great words. I like those
words. Yes. So today we're here to talk about your guys' project, L.E.T.M.E, The Journey. So what does, for everyone who has not heard your guys' interviews or seen any of the work yet, what does L.E.T.M.E stand for?
You leaving that one to me?
April.
Right. Well, so it actually came out of Sean's head, but it's about to come out of my mouth.
Oh, okay. All right.
L.E.T.M.E, The Journey stands for Live Every Tiny Moment Exceptionally. And it really is what that says. Live every tiny moment exceptionally.
And so what, I know, Sean, you said it came out of your mouth, came out of your head when we talked about it. You thought about it, you were at the gym or something, and all of a sudden it popped in your head. What made you decide to make this a video journal, if you will?
So your memories is amazing, as in that wasn't how it happened.
Oh, okay, cool. It is actually not amazing. So thank you for pointing that out for me.
I was being supportive. April says I have to be supportive. And she's the boss. So L.E.T.M.E actually came off. I was writing inspirational posts on social media, and one of the posts I ended with "Live every tiny moment exceptionally." L.E.T.M.E. Years after that, I met April. Not many years after that, but I met April, and her and I kicked it off great. We are very much kindred spirits on how we like to get out and see the world, how we like to pause, and like if there's a rock or a piece of bark, she's gonna touch it. She can't help it. She's gonna stop and touch it. If there's an eagle flying around, I am going to stop and spend like 20 minutes taking pictures of it, and or at the water drop. So before we ever talked about it, she was living kind of that life anyway. Would get up and go for a walk randomly. I would just go for a drive. I would stop. And so as we became friends and we started putting books together, obviously it's a book podcast, we started to push that idea of live every tiny moment exceptionally. And so we share pictures, or I probably share about 98% more than she shares. I take a lot of pictures, and just the way she found joy in those. And so as our friendship grew, we started sharing it with people. I write inspirational posts. My third book is basically photos. And people were like, "Oh my God, where did you take this shot at?" I'm like, "It was down the street from me, or it was my backyard, or it was my, and it was opening people's eyes to that you don't have to go anywhere to see beauty." And so April and I, after we put our books together, we have 4 now between the two of us, and working on another one currently. I have no idea how that happened. I felt English. So that's weird. But we just said, you know what? Let's make a show of it. And I'll let April talk, because I talked a lot, trying to talk about how that was birthed.
Okay.
Yeah,
yes,
that actually
birthed.
Well, the show actually was born out of the idea that we were both invited to do an interview on public access television here where we live in Washington. And we got to talking to the producer. Like Ryan, you found out very quickly that neither one of us has a trouble talking beyond what we've been asked. And so we just started asking questions. And actually the producer caught on to that and said, "You guys should think about maybe doing an interview on our show. In other words, be the interviewer." And while that was interesting to us, it really didn't like spark that spark in us,
Joy.
and maybe that will happen at some point. Don't worry, Ryan, we're not doing it.
That's okay.
But on the drive home and then time, like several days later and numerous conversations, we were like, well, what if we did this? And so actually it was kind of funny, and I don't remember exactly how this one fits into the timeline, but we were driving to, I think, Paulsbo or Kingston or something from where we are, and we started videotaping a conversation about a cracker, like literally a cracker, like a Ritz cracker, because I don't know how to use squeezed cheese. What do you call it? Spray cheese whiz. I had no idea what cheese whiz was. Like, I'm
become famous. I'm going to play that video.
Yes, I'm a grown woman and I never used cheese whiz. And he's like, "This is how you do it."
Please play the video.
So we started videoing, and we realized as we were sitting there videoing, and we impressed the heck out of ourselves in this video. We're like, "Gee, wouldn't this be good?" So we started to connect all the dots, and we're like, "Wait a minute, what if we tried to share?" Because we would go on road trips and stuff like that. Why don't we try to share our experiences with other people and maybe inspire them to realize that you don't have to do anything fancy or expensive to just enjoy life.
To let me.
There you go. Well, yeah, because it's already sounded like you both were kind of a stop and smell the roses type of mentality, which is
yes.
And in today's society, we don't have that. So a lot of instant gratification, the future wantings and longings. Oh, my life will be better if I get to here, when I get there, and not sitting. You're good. And not enjoying, like you said, the moment or where you live. And people aren't, rich. It's getting more expensive to travel. So just being able to drive an hour here, an hour there, and enjoy what we have in Washington, which is very diverse area.
It is.
It's very nice. I have been enjoying your episodes so far. I've got all the way up to the very last one.
Wow.
So, oh yeah.
Thanks, Ryan.
You have very low standards in viewing, I see. I mean, good job. I mean, wait, I'm sorry.
Good job, Ryan.
Muscle through it.
Yes. Hopefully there was tequila involved. We're not advocating drinking.
But who's narrating this?
Yeah.
It's monitoring us. Now I did catch a date in there, as in like it was like early 2020 for like the last episode. I think it was Cape Disappointment or Point Defiance. I believe Sean quoted that at one point, or misused the name, which I thought was hilarious, with the coffee gal.
I do that all the time.
Oh yes,
it was awesome.
Jamie
or Sam.
Yeah, Jamie, not Samantha.
I rename people all the time.
Yeah, I love it. That's great.
Okay.
She was losing in the background. I was laughing too. So I'm assuming, how long have you guys been doing this for?
We actually signed up for the public access. We decided to go ahead and do this in public access. We made the decision because we have to work around really April's schedule more than mine's. I'm a little more free than she is, being a teacher. She has to like be there. I'm also an instructor, but my time frames are an hour chunk. And so when we actually talked about it, we had to talk about what we were going to do and how could we do this. I mean, I'm married and she has, her family. And so we have lives. We can't just run off and just disappear and stuff like that. Though, according to my wife, I think she thinks we do. We just run off and disappear. And so once we kind of figured out that, we can squeeze in some episode time, and we had no idea what we're doing. Yeah. Like, so like we, with our books and our show and even this, we have no idea what we're doing. We just show up and do something. And we signed up we signed up to have a show, and then the pandemic hit.
In April of 2020.
Everything closed.
Yeah, so that's what I was trying to figure out, because all the timestamps were 4 or 5 months ago. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So this was, very recent. And then I'm trying to pin the count, and no, this doesn't make any sense.
No, we've been doing it for a couple of years now.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that until this last episode when you guys started the intro. This is the very beginning of 2020. I'm like, oh, all right, that makes a lot of sense now.
So we have we just started our YouTube channel, which is what you were watching.
Yes.
But on public access, we were about 12 episodes in. I believe right now we were at the time of this recording, we're at 8 episodes posted. We have a very heavy one coming up after that, and so, but we're working on episode 17.
Wow.
So, which will probably not be out until at the rate we were going, the middle or end of next year.
Yeah.
Because we're putting them out every 2 weeks. This last episode didn't come out. We're probably about a month out now. So it's been interesting. I know you were getting ready to say something, April, but it's been really interesting seeing where we were and seeing what we went through and how we still were able to find things to do during the pandemic. And, and it's very interesting for us, I think, because it challenged what we all thought, it challenged what we thought L.E.T.M.E was. It challenged how we could do it because nothing was the same.
Right. And what's kind of interesting about that is, the pandemic, some people, when we all went into quarantine, a lot of people are like, oh no, I'm never going to get out. I'm never going to be able to live life. How am I going to make it? And it was very interesting to watch how different people reacted to that, because there were some people who found it in themselves to live every tiny moment exceptionally. Yeah. There was a realization that this was, one, unusual, and we didn't know what was going to happen. So you might as well live and do what you can with what you got. And a lot of people, people that I've seen on social media and the people that I'm close to, they took advantage of the opportunity to do something different. Yeah. So now my work, my workload, and unfortunately for some people, who may have lost those opportunities to work, they were like, no, I can sit here and I can feel sorry for myself and waste these moments. Maybe didn't even realize I was wasting time. I mean, time is the only thing that we really have to spend, seriously. And so there were people that were, they were maybe, and again, I don't want to pigeonhole an engineer, but you got engineers making bagels. It was pretty crazy. You've got dancers building Legos. You've got just people just doing stuff out of the box, and some of them successfully, and some of them just really getting a chuckle out of it. And so as I'm watching, not knowing what's happening in the world, as we're watching the world, we're like, this is like the perfect opportunity to live every tiny moment exceptionally, because we don't know. Yeah. And it really is, when we came out of it, we had this sigh of relief. We're like, yay, we get out to do something. It never stopped. Yeah. You never stopped having the opportunity to do something. And so as you walk outside that door after, the quarantine and the restrictions were lifted, it was like, oh, no, that's the way you should always, again, we don't tell people how to live, but why not live that way? Yeah. Why not live like every single moment is a precious thing? Because it is.
No, it 100% is. And it is very hard when you get stuck in, that negative train of thought. So it's having something like this project you guys are doing, kind of out there and hopefully getting in people's faces and reminding them like, hey, yeah, it might kind of suck right now because you can't go anywhere. We can't go anywhere, but there's things you can do in your household, maybe outside, safely, where there's still beauty out there, still things to do. There's hobbies to explore. You're given the gift of time at this point. I don't know how much, just because of the pandemic, I was able to get my book out. I mean, if it wouldn't have the pandemic, probably wouldn't have done that. So it's and other people have got really healthy with, with their fitness and everything. People started doing all sorts of different hobbies. It really did change, and actually changed the industries for working, like teleworking. People who are normally get sick easy, they can work from home and still make a living. Because of the remote access we did and learn how to do because of the pandemic. But now and those people can now live every moment exceptionally because they can, support themselves, and they learned how to survive during something like this, very oddly enough. Yeah. So when are you guys dropping the rest of those episodes on YouTube then?
We have tried to drop them every 2 weeks. One of the things we found, the episode that we have coming up was very heavy because of what was going on at the time in our country. Again, we talk about living every tiny moment exceptionally, but at the time that we did this last episode, we had a lot of protesting in the U.S. We had a lot of animosity, which we still kind of have, a lot of division. And April and I we have these great conversations. Her and I, we sit and we over coffee and or over Messenger, or, we will have these great, deep conversations about something we saw. And I think April asked the question, how do we let me when things are hard, when things are horrible? And so we have to make a decision. We actually made a decision at that time to discuss something heavy, because Let Me isn't it just about all the rainbows and unicorns, right? Because that's not life. Somebody's struggling, somebody's just got some tragic news, somebody's fighting back demons of their own, all these things. That episode happened to be, we had a conversation on race within America. And I know this is a audio thing, but I'm an African American male, and April's Italian. Italian, right? I'll let her tell you what she is. She's Italian, Irish Italian actually. But we sat down and just had an honest conversation, and we hope that people understand that Let Me isn't about just finding the rainbow. Let Me isn't just finding positivity. Let Me, I have cried next to the water, been upset with the world, or things didn't go my way, and friendships have, got damaged, and so I sat by the water. I love the water. So I sat back and I go, okay, so what can I do? I go over here and I sit with my cup of coffee by the water and sing my country music and have a good old moment. That's living every tiny moment exceptionally too, taking those moments. And so that's kind of where we learn and we realize that we're not just about finding the beautiful things to go and see, the tourist attractions. We're talking about life.
So basically it's again, like you said, it's when it's good, but when it's bad, it's also trying to either come out of the darkness into a lighter, more, loving and forgiveness, fighting your demons. I mean, it sounds like it's a very roundabout series. I mean, it's not, you're not just talking about finding cool things to go look at, which it's not. If anyone's actually listening to the conversations that you guys have in the video, it's much deeper than that. Like I said, it's very real life stuff, which is what people need. If they know people don't like when they're getting lied to or getting, everything's fluffy. It's just not how life is. And that it needs to be notated by everybody, everywhere. We got to be real with everybody, plain and simple. Yeah. So, along your travels, have you guys met anybody pretty neat, cool, indifferent, different?
What about Jamie? No.
You did meet Jamie.
Yes, we do. Actually, one of my favorite stories is one of our first trips. We actually were going up to, it was our first. We were going from Kingston to Edmonds.
We wanted to catch the ferry.
We wanted to catch the ferry. So we have ferries all over the Puget Sound, and we typically take one or two of the same ones over and over again when we want to go somewhere. We said, neither one of us have ever taken this ferry. Let's go take this ferry, just for the pure and simple sake of taking this ferry. Yeah. What's on the other side,
that
right?
Was the trip.
Isn't that what the explorers used to say? What's on the other side of this water? Anyway.
Yeah.
So when we got up to Port Gamble, and you can look it up on the map, or maybe Ryan will provide a map. I don't know, but anyway.
It's an audio.
Yeah, but he has to do a cover shot. Come on, Ryan. Can you get it? No.
Yeah, probably. I mean, maybe I could just put it in there at this point in time, have a map on there. Really get fancy.
Google, describe it.
You can describe the map. I don't know. How do you do that audio?
We've written stuff. The latitude. I'm sure I can't.
You're an author.
Just give numbers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Go to Google, put in Port Gamble, and there's so many images there.
Latitude, longitude, latitude.
No, Ryan, what was your question? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so we get to Port Gamble. Port Gamble is this little nugget of a town. It's so adorable, absolutely just sweet. And so we were on our way.
Get there?
Car, I think.
How do we get to Port Gamble?
By a vehicle? By a car?
There's the stories of that. We weren't headed to Port Gamble.
Oh, yeah, we were headed to Edmonds.
But how do we get to Port Gamble? And Port Gamble was not the direction.
Explain.
So we were following a map. Obviously, we were Googled. Hashtag y'all need to pay us for that. And her and I, to tell a story, my wife likes to come on trips with us every now and again. She likes to say, April and I don't go A to B ever. What takes 2 hours for most people will often take 5 or 6 for us because we stop everywhere. And so as we were driving along, we're looking at the map and we see this thing and it says there was an offshoot that said Port Gamble. And we were like, well, the ferry doesn't leave for this long. Why don't we go that way?
Sure.
And so we went 16 miles out of the way to Port Gamble, and it's this cute little town.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'll let you go back. We actually wound up, and that's part of it. And the reason I actually interrupted her story was to say, when we're talking about living every tiny moment, it's not scripted, right? If you're living in the moment, so many people get so caught up in the end,
Mm-hmm.
in point B, that they don't realize that there's so many points in between.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, if you're going from A to B, it's A.1, A.2, right? There's so many points in between. And so we wound up at Port Gamble, and I'll let you finish your story if you remember where you were.
Yeah, no. So we're in Port Gamble, and there's this absolutely beautiful scenic view that has picnic tables on it. And we were, talking about, okay, so should we video here, and should we chat? We should do an intro here, and just kind of talking about what kind of videos and photographs we want to take. And we were just taking, just naturally taking videos and photographs. And then at this one picnic table, there was a man, just an older gentleman who was just sitting there. And so we're like, okay, so I go over and start talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
And as it turns out, his name was Clint, right?
Don't ask me. I don't remember.
Yeah, good memory.
April knows everybody's name. I know no one's.
He was sitting on you have to check the episode.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes, watch the episode.
See if I was correct. All right.
Episode
So
1.
send your brownie if
Clint,
you can.
but
Okay.
Cliff or Clint, I can't remember.
Cliff or Clint, yeah. Well, he was sitting on the cliff, so I'm not sure if that's, but you're right, Ryan.
He was talking
So
to me. I knew we were having a good conversation.
So I went over and I was chit-chatting. We were chatting with him, and we found out that Clint was from Port Gamble, and this gentleman was
83.
in his 80s, right?
83.
And he had been in Port Gamble for almost all of his 83 years, with the exception of a couple of years that he spent in the military.
Wow.
And then what did he do? He was like, I want to go back home.
Yeah.
And so he was just absolutely content. And so what's interesting about that, some people might look at that and go, really? Like, he didn't want to go explore the world and go travel and do. Well, I don't know what was in his head, but what he told us was is that he just wanted to come back home. Yeah. And he really, think about that, in this little town of a couple thousand people, he found his exceptional life. Yeah. He was like, that's what I want to do. And Ryan, there wasn't a sense that he was regretful or anything. I mean, he was happy to be where he was.
Well, Ryan saw the video.
There he was, right? Ryan, because Ryan watches our show like all of you guys should. And
we now have 8 watchers.
Yes.
8 watchers.
There's 18 subscribers on there. All right. Come on.
Every time we mention that Ryan watched it, we get another, like a little angel gets its wings.
Yeah, angel gets his wings. And then when we tell them that they watched it, and the angel loses his wings because they're like, they watched that. So it's really a bad. It's really, but actually on that same trip was one of my favorite people. When we went over the water, we just got off the boat and started walking. Yeah. We were like, we have to be back at the boat an hour. We're like, okay, the next boat's an hour, so let's get. And so we wanted to walk about 2 miles. We actually talked to a girl we did in our video who happened to be there with her family. I talk to anyone. That's just me. I will talk to anyone and start a conversation. April can talk to anyone, but I literally will just start talking to anyone. Yeah. And we walked through this park, and I want to say, Malcolm, I got it.
Good job.
Look at me remembering things. My brain damage isn't bad. But there was a guy painting in the park, and he's painting this very great picture of this woman, black lady's face, and he's smoking a cigar, and he's in this little piece of the park, and he's painting it. So we saw him, and we went, hey, let's go harass that guy. And so we asked him, so we talked to him, and we sat and talked and videoed, and we got words of wisdom from him, and it was such a random thing. We had to see his work. That's kind of what it's always been about. Yeah. As a writer, I tell people I'm not a reader. I like to talk to people. I like to see life. And where I get my words and the crap that comes out of my head from is being around people. And so us sitting there with, Malcolm for that time, and we did that, and and then we had an interpretive dance break.
Yeah.
Because that's what the sign said. And so we did that. I'm sure that we affected a couple people driving by.
We followed directions.
Yes. And I know you saw that, Ryan, because you watched it.
I have watched them.
Don't get jealous, Ryan.
Yeah. You can interpret dance too, Ryan.
I was a little jealous. Yeah. I got over it. I mean,
okay,
I'm an adult,
good.
Mostly. So they told me.
Don't flap your wings too early because you will pull something. I'm a professional. For those who don't know what was going on, I was dancing on the side of the road. And
yes, that will either encourage or discourage you from watching.
He was. You should go right now, drop whatever you're doing, go watch this interpretive dance right now. Episode one.
April, and here's the thing about this is kind of a sidebar about L.E.T.M.E, and like I always talk about me and April and I always talk about I like her laugh, right? She's a great laugh. It's contagious, and people, and it's just joyful. So it's like, oh my God, it's funny. Not funny like it's weird sounding, but it's joyful. Mm-hmm. And so I always say when you're out and about and you're enjoying yourself, you'll hear laughter, you'll hear something, and it's an amazing thing when you get to go out and just see stuff and just experience stuff. Go for a walk, go for a hike. Talk about the dang raindrops or something like that. And you open people up and they're joyful, and what made me think of that is April just was laughing a second ago. And we've known each other for 7 years, and I've always told, or I'm like, the reason I do what I do is because I want to hear you laugh. And that's the point. When you live in that moment, it's like, we all have children. There's no greater sound. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I don't like kids, but there's no greater sound than a baby laughing. Mm-hmm. Yes. Because it's so authentic, or even a very young kid, because it is such an authentic thing and it's contagious. Mm-hmm. You feel better when you hear it. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You feel better. And that is the same thing for adults. We forget that.
Yes, we do.
And that's where talking to Malcolm and doing the interpretive dance, I almost guarantee you that there are people that drove by that laughed at this giant black guy doing some weird dance moves. I was a tiger. I was a bird.
They were elegant, okay? It was elegant.
And she was cracking up. April was cracking up the whole time. And I'm like...
The camera was shaking because she was laughing. So yes, was happening.
It was a Washington earthquake.
Yes, it was. The wind was blowing real bad. Who knows what happens? It happens.
She worked out. She got them. She did shoulders. The arms. We're a little tired. That's what it was.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's totally okay.
Yeah.
So where have you guys visited? I know in the first 5 episodes, you guys have gone to like Long Beach and where else do you guys go? Ocean Shores and then Edmonds. Mm-hmm. Where have you gone since?
So actually, like you said, we stayed primarily in Washington. Okay. But we did take a big trip. I'm originally from Las Vegas and he's from LA.
Okay.
And so when the weather was nice and we knew LA? No. Los Angeles. Okay. So he is always, ever since we've been friends, he's like, one day, you know what? I'm going to take you to the Redwoods. Have you never been to the Redwoods? Like he would say that to me. It's like, you got to see this magical place, right? And when people do that, like you build that expectation, but sometimes you're like, maybe it's not as good as like this person believes it to be. But the way that he talked about it, and then his wife would talk about it too. And they're like, this is an incredible place. So during the nice months when we knew that we could make this drive, we actually drove from Washington to Las Vegas, dropped me in Vegas. Sean went on to Los Angeles.
Not Louisiana.
Right. And so we spent time with our individual families. And then after a few days, I got over to LA, and then we took the car back up and drove through California, through Oregon, went to the Redwoods.
San Francisco.
Then the Redwoods. Then Oregon. Thank you for the geography lesson. And then Washington.
Helps me too.
Yeah, you guys can Google that.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Over 3,000 miles in 7 days.
Yeah, That was pretty incredible. It was really, really neat. And it's funny because like all those places like Las Vegas and LA and San Francisco and the Redwoods, like those are grand places to go visit. But along the way, there's all these little moments, you know, and I guess that's really the point. I mean, like that was a really big trip, but it wasn't about it being this big trip. It was saying, you know, a friend telling another friend, you got to see this.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, let's go ahead and see every little thing along the way. Like we took a picture of a bakery sign and like desert structures and, you know, like random desert structures in Nevada, cement,
Washington.
Yeah, just really pretty incredible place. And what's really funny about that, so Sean obviously inspired that trip. But we have had other people say things to us randomly, Ryan, that was like, we had this young lady, Jessica, who we don't know to this day, wrote a blog about the foliage trip in Washington. We're like, let's take Jessica's trip.
Foliage.
And so we did.
The fall color change.
Yes.
For those who don't know how bad I'm saying the word foliage.
But that's kind of the fun part of that is like letting not only the funny words and pronunciation of those words, but
we followed this blog.
Just
we did a show
on a whim. We were like, let's follow Jessica's trip in her blog. Let's see if
Jessica
knows her stuff.
And I got to go to Leavenworth for the first time because of that, because one of her places was Leavenworth. And we went up we went up in some gorge and we did it. We saw on there's a couple pages on Facebook that shows the beauty of Washington and Oregon. We went on a hike for waterfalls because somebody shared a picture of a waterfall in Oregon. And I'm like, hey, do you want to go see it? I sent her a picture. She's like, oh, we should go see that. And then she always searches where everything is. We can do that. And so we got up at 6 o'clock in the morning, drove 3 hours, went for a hike, decided to chase 3 waterfalls, went to 3 different waterfalls, to the one we wanted, the last one, Taka, whatever the hell it was.
Multnomah Falls.
Yeah.
Multnomah Falls.
Okay.
I was going to Matakum Takanaka.
That too, but not right.
That was the last one we went to. And it's beautiful. And we hiked, we put a couple miles on the shoes, and then we drove home.
Awesome.
You know, I don't mind driving. I can drive for days. I don't care. And so I get in the car and let's go. Yeah. And she is mostly awake most of the time. We hope to inspire people to go out and see those things. The reason we were in Cape Disappointment was because we saw pictures of the waves and the lighthouse, like the professionals. And we were like, I want to see that. And I'm a California boy. I know what a wave looks like. She lived in Hawaii for 3 years. She knows what waves look like. And the way the waves look like on those cameras, those professional photographers made, you were like, whoa, these are serious waves. Disclaimer, they are not that big.
But they are that beautiful.
They're beautiful. It's an amazing thing, but camera angle says everything. You know, and we were like, we thought Cape Disappointment was just this little section. It is a huge park. Like it is huge. There's a couple lighthouses there. And we were like, whoa. And when we wind up walking out on the jetties and, you know, had eagles landing in near us and, you know, and you're like, oh, wow, okay. We wouldn't have known that in our episode of Cape Disappointment. We talk about that. Yeah. I think April actually says disappointment doesn't disappoint, which is corny as hell, but it works. It's true. We were as a whole, like, oh man, these waves are reaching this lighthouse, and lighthouse is like 200 feet in the air, and the waves are not 200 feet. They're 10 feet. I mean, we went after a storm. They're probably 10-foot waves, give or take. That's a whole big gap of numbers. But because of where the pictures have been taken from, it looks much, much higher, and which is fine. So that was slightly disappointing when we saw that, because I thought we were going to get like 30-foot waves. I'm like, oh my God, I've never seen a 30-foot wave.
Right.
I'm like, I've seen 20, I've never seen 30 and all that. But when we got there, we went for a walk a mile down from where they were taking pictures. And we're out on this, like I said, this jetty, and the eagles were soaring over. I got videos of that, and and all of the birds, and it's just the wind, and it was just wow, such an amazing moment. And it was brought to us because somebody decide to share their moment,
Right.
you know. But like what we're trying to do is we're trying to tell people it isn't just this moment. Because we talked to the little girl at the coffee stand whose name I butchered the entire time, which is something I do regularly. But she was laughing, and we probably made her day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she kind of made ours.
Yeah. And we drove up. She told us about her, kite festival and all these things. And
Yeah.
again, if you haven't watched the episodes, you wouldn't know what we're talking about. But that's what L.E.T.M.E really is about. It's about sharing those beautiful moments that others don't necessarily see.
Yeah.
And that you don't have to go anywhere to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the spontaneity. I really do love the spontaneity. Hey, we're just going to stop at this monument here. Like, oh, okay. We're going to stop at this memorial over here. Okay. We're going to take 20 minutes out of our day and just take a look at this. All right, cool. We're going to talk to this person I just saw walking the road. I'm like, but that's kind of the great serendipitous part about the show. And it's just genuine conversations. It's very nice. And I definitely found myself going, man, I haven't gone out to the ocean in a while. I should go out to the ocean. So I started talking with the wife about going out and do a, ocean trip. I don't care if it's fall. Water's water. I'm not going to go in the water. It's cold. But I mean,
that's time is storm time. If you go around the rain, the waves are amazing. And I know you take your kids out there as long as they don't get in the water. We did an episode. I got to drive on the beach. Yeah, I've never driven on the beach. I was like a kid in the candy store. I was like, get the time on the beach.
You were quite giddy in the truck. You were quite giddy you looked very giddy.
I was happy as hell. That's what I was driving on the beach.
I have a suggestion for you guys. One of your trips. Have you guys ever done the North Cascades?
No.
Okay, that will take your breath away.
Okay.
North Cascades.
Okay.
Definitely. I'm not even going to say any more to that.
Okay.
Because I will ruin. Actually, I will not ruin it for you. It will not disappoint.
Okay.
North Cascades.
North Cascades.
We're going to call it that. Ryan's North Cascades trip.
Do it. Yes.
I will tell you. It's one of our favorite moments in doing the show. We've taken trips and we just gone for drives up towards the falls or whatever. We're out there. And 3 times now we wound up at the same dam.
Yes.
Randomly, we're like, oh, that's that dam. Let's go there. And we randomly wound up saying dam. And twice we wound up on the same back road going through a tree farm. 22 miles of back dirt roads. We're like, that may not be open on the other end. We've done this 3 different times, I think 2 or 3 times now.
By the way, Ryan, we could not show you where it is because we still have no idea where we actually were.
We wound up in this one place.
Here again.
We've been to the dam 3 times. We've been on that road, this 20-mile road. We're like, oh, and here's the funny thing. Like the first time we went on it, we actually got to see what they call a fog bow, which is a all white rainbow.
Oh, so cool.
And over the road, we were so high up and we were like, what is this? And it stopped and we take pictures because it takes it forever. We're like, do we have enough gas? We were really trying to figure that out because there's no gas stations when you're in the back roads. And April's poor little car just got to be beat up. But it was so funny. And we talk and I bring that up because we also talk about in a couple of our shows about when you go somewhere. We tend to go somewhere and we do the same thing. We go, oh, I'm going to go to Cape Disappointment. And I go to this place. I go eat at this place. I go to this place and camp picnic. I go to this and I do. And so you do it every time. But there's a billion things to do in every place you go. And so we've taken the same trips before, again, to see something different. And we talk about that. We live in this little town, Port Orchard. And you can take a road. April loves to drive up random roads, and we've been up some random roads. Oh my God, look at the view here. And you go, wow, because you can take the same trip, you can do the same thing, but you can do it slightly different.
Yeah.
And it changes everything.
It really does. We do one going to and from my kids' school. So we're in Bremerton. So all it is like a quick, 5-minute drive and I'm at their school. All right, cool. But if you take a few back roads, it'll take you 3 times as long to get home. However, the views are spectacular going through all these cool roads with random, all the Halloween decorations are up now. The kids love Halloween. There's all sorts of weird, wacky houses that are decked out. We go up these random hills. You can literally see Seattle from a little part right over the crest of Bainbridge. So it's beautiful. Go down weird areas, go through L.E.T.M.E Park, come around, go down to wherever. And you're like, well, we would never have seen this if we just go the normal way. And so in the car, I'm like, you guys want to go the fast way or the long way? And they're like, we're going to go the long way home today. All right, cool. We'll take 15 extra minutes and get home. Who cares?
Yeah. We talk about it. Take the water. We say, take the water. I've come home. April's come home. We've taken trips home, and again, we use my wife as our other partner, and she, I'm like, hey, we'll be home soon. And she's like, okay, so see you guys in 2 hours. Because we have done that, and it's likely to happen to us. We joke about it in the show. We're two friends who are doing home movies. It's just fun. And it's not to show off. It's not to do anything. I can't afford to show off. So, I know my bank account told me I can't. So, but that doesn't mean you can't have fun.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't enjoy. Like I said, we've taken lunch, we've grabbed Taco Bell, and we've gone down to the water and just watched the sunset.
Yeah.
We watched whales off of a Southworth ferry, and talk about giddy. That was April who ruined my video of that because she was a 5-year-old who just got their first candy bar. I mean, just happy.
I'd never seen an orca before.
It was amazing.
They don't have those in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
No, not too many of them. Oh my gosh.
Well, they have them, but they're just dry.
Plastic.
Yeah.
they're just dry and at the sushi
too. Stuffed animals.
It's in the MGM. I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure.
There's an orca going around there.
SeaWorld in California, you can do that too. I'm
Yeah.
not even sure if they have them anymore, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you don't see but it's again, I talk about her laugh, and it's a barometer for what we're doing. When we go out, and I know when she's laughing and being silly, it's quite actually. I thought about this earlier. Naturally, I'm the silly person. I'm silly. I'm just goofy.
You hide it very well.
I make people, right. And she's more serious. I mean, her ducks are all in military regiment. They're in a row. My ducks are donkeys. I don't know what my ducks are. They identify as something else. But when we go, right. But when we go on adventures, I'm the more serious one, and she's the silly one. Like, she is much, her inner child explorer comes out.
Yeah.
And I can sit back and just watch her wander, and it's not always me. And so I get to see how someone else does it, someone I trust who does it, and vice versa. So when we don't always, I would say we're about 80% alike when we're out venturing.
Yeah, I think so.
And then there's a little bit of us that are different, which gives us, hey, let's try that.
And that kind of reminds me, like, Ryan, what you just said when you were talking about, okay, we live 5 minutes. You said you live 5 minutes from your kiddo's school. So it's like, okay, there are times when we got to get the kids to school, right? We got to get them to school on time. Right. That's a 5-minute trip. But where in your schedule and your life can you deviate a little bit from that? You still got to get the kids to school. So sometimes you got to find, okay, I got to let loose. And whether that let loose happens on your front porch or down the street or this extra 10-minute drive,
right.
I guess that's for me, like, that's let me is I know there are things that I have to do responsibly, but I also owe it to myself to live those other ones. And I have to tell you that I am really, like, I guess I admire people who find the thing that they really, really like, even in those responsible moments.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Sean's really good with, even when he's working, he's connecting with people. He's making people laugh. Like, to be able to do that job, to do any job and go, okay, I found the joy in it. And like, if you're teaching somebody something, I know, Ryan, you were, talking about like safety procedures. Yeah. On paper, that may be like, okay, but what, somewhere in our work, whatever it is, whether you're teaching like English literature or safety procedures or Zumba, I mean, are we finding in there the little moments where we get to bring joy to other people? And it may sound selfish, but it brings us joy. Like, am I finding a way to just enjoy?
Yeah, you have to be able to enjoy. That's what life's about, is enjoying it. We're only here for a blip
Yes.
of existence, and
Our existence.
Yeah.
We did the math on that.
Yeah, we did. But that's the thing about Let Me. Let Me is not a program.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is a mindset.
It's a mental. Yeah.
It's just going, I owe it to myself. Give myself this. You know what I mean? Because I've been given that gift of time.
You know, I just had a conversation at the post office today. You know, I go to the post office after I teach my class every day, and a woman was behind me, and she had her mask on, so she was still masking up. And I had a pink slip, which is I have a package to pick up at the post office. So I'm in line, and she's like, "You're lucky." I'm like, "I'm married. I'm not lucky." I'm like, "This is my wife's crap. I don't know what I'm getting." And so we got in this conversation about. I always say when people ask me how I'm doing, I say my wife hasn't killed me yet, which according to my wife is horrible. I shouldn't say that, but it's funny to me. But this woman, she's like, "Oh my gosh, you sound like my husband," and she's just laughing in this line. We're stuck in it. We're stuck in the post office line, and she's just laughing, and I'm like, and she's gonna wind up on Snap, and I'm like, and I go, and I said, it's funny to me if I die and they think she's a suspect. If I'm up somewhere in heavens or wherever I go and I can see that, I'm going to laugh a lot, right? And so she's cracking up at the absurdity of my thing. And she's like, "You sound like my husband." And I get into my, I finally get pulled up, and then she gets on. She goes, "You have a great day," as she walks by me. I'm like, I don't know that woman's name. I don't know what she looks like.
Yeah.
I don't, but I know for one moment I gave her a chuckle.
Yeah.
And we had a good little conversation. Again, it was all over the course of about 3 minutes.
And she could use it.
Yeah, and I'm saying, and I'm always talking. I'm walking around singing and all these things because what we do when we live every tiny moment exceptionally is we're in that moment.
Yeah.
And in that moment, we have an opportunity to share. Like, you can have a heavy day. April has kids. She teaches school and she has kids, so she can have a heavy day. But one kid walks in and she's like, "Oh man, I love your Pikachu hat," and that kid starts chuckling because it was a dare that they had to wear for their little brother or something. Okay. So now they share that story, or because they want to, whatever. All of a sudden, that kid lights up. And now she's a little lighter because she just made this kid who may not light up all the time light up because those little moments.
I mean, it's about making those connections, and it's genuine connections. It's like, that's what I do too. Like, what I teach is not exactly the most enthralling topics. Okay. It's nothing. No one loves to read about respirators and how not to kill yourself with electricity. People don't love to do that. Right. Maybe you do, April. I don't know.
I'm into it. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's dive into this. You want to know about particulates? We got this. No, it's not that interesting. So throwing your own personality and your own little quirks in there, because everyone, we have to get through this together. You need this to do your job so you can get paid, so you can, do things outside of work. Just being completely real and honest, cracking jokes. That's the way you're going to keep them awake half the time, for starters. I mean, let's be realistic here. Get through the day. I mean, half the time my teammates and I are joking around, just trying to deal with the dumb stuff we got to do with. It's like, this is stupid. Yeah, well, you're stupid. I don't know. We'll just randomly do stupid jokes with each other, and it's a good time. We have a great day, and we get things done, and we move on with our lives. And it's just, but we remember those conversations. We know that we can work with those people. We're making good connections. It's about enjoying what you're doing, whatever you're doing, wherever you're at.
Yeah.
It isn't making life crazy. It isn't making life as if life is all great.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the emphasis that I like to go with, because we can share, a picture, we can share a moment, a video, a funny meme or something like that with someone. If you got a friend who loves, butterflies, and you saw a butterfly, you took a picture of it and randomly sent it to them.
Oh yeah.
That's L.E.T.M.E. I sent April a picture of a road that she's always liked that I drive down. So almost every time I drive down that road, I shove my camera out the sunroof and I take a picture because she's at school.
Yeah.
And so I send a picture. And I'm like, oh, and she's always been genuinely appreciative of it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, but she's seen that road, a picture of that road. We've known each other 7 times. It was 7 years. I take pictures. I have 90,000 plus pictures in my Google pictures, right? I have a book of 400 photos. My third book is nothing but pictures.
Yep.
My cell phone and I love taking pictures. Since she has known me, she has received 98% of the pictures I have taken. She gets in it, but
blessed. That's awesome.
I don't know if she feels blessed, but she gets it. And it's the person I share most of my pictures with, but then I would share one online and I have a thought about it and I'm like, here's an inspiration.
Yeah.
And we do that, and April does the same thing. We do that because it shows that in any moment, you can choose to be something, a brighter spot. You can choose to be positive. You can choose to, you don't have to, we're not influencers. I hate that term. We're not trying to get famous off of, numbers. We're trying to see if one person say, you know what, I feel better today because of that.
Yeah, it can be as simple as you pass a person, could be a complete stranger, and just say good morning.
Yeah.
It really is that powerful.
Yeah.
It is. It really, and even in this time of, especially like mental health and everything too, doing something as small as a wave, a hello, a nice smile, you can literally save people's lives with that.
Yeah.
Well, you did this not long ago. You shared a story, and I hope you don't mind me sharing, and I'll be very vague about it. But you had a colleague who was having a rough time,
right?
And so before school, you went to the coffee stand, got a coffee and a bagel or something. I don't know what the other thing was, and went down to the colleague's room and delivered coffee and this thing, and sat for a few minutes before class. When you react in kindness, when you start finding those beautiful moments, people reach out to you because they go, you know what? And I've had that. April's had that. People reach out and they say, you know what? I just needed to. And again, it's something that you share, and I hope it's okay. She'll yell at me after, but somebody said, reached out to her during the pandemic and said, I needed to talk to you because you're positive. Yours, because of the energy you bring. I just know, and I just wanted to spend some time with that. And I've had that, and we've had that with each other, and we've seen that with people. Again, making people laugh while we're out being silly. Doing our little adventures is such an amazing thing. Like I said, the girl at the name coffee stand. She was cracking up. We're just 3 strangers to her. But now we one little thing, and and I remember
the funny strangers now.
Yeah. And just think about that. Like, we talk about it now and we laugh.
Yeah.
Jamie, not Samantha. she gets that too. Like, she can remember that. If she remembers it, like, I think about her laughing. And I'm like, cool, because we never let go of that. And I think that's like the coolest part. In a time when we are so connected, we are so disconnected.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's like, oh my gosh, I think you use that word connection too, Ryan's like, I think we crave that connection.
Oh yeah.
And it's okay to be connected, even if it's something as simple as, that good morning. I just, it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be expensive, and it doesn't have to be big.
No, and actually, I think that's more genuine anyway. If you go above and beyond, and that's gonna be the expectation, and no one wants that expectation of, they have to go above and beyond. They have to do this elaborate thing. Like, no, it doesn't. Genuine connection is small, is minor, is knowing like, hey, I got a feeling this person not having a good day. Let me just go over and say hi to them. High five, do something weird, make them laugh, whatever. Even just to cheer them up that day, and then he or she will go, this person's got my back if I'm ever down. Been saying anything about it, so it just make that good feeling.
Which
is authenticity is the most amazing part of, like I said, people ask us, how we are, and when they see us on our videos, like, are you guys that way? We bump heads all the time. We have contentious moments because we're close friends. And and there's been strains on our friendships and things like that because of, we're both very smart, or she's smarter, but I consider myself decently smart. life, pandemic and all these things really hit. In the end, it comes back down to, yeah, we're really just great friends.
Yeah.
And we really want to share with the world this silliness that we do. I call it home movies. You hear me say it all the time
Yep.
in our movies. I'm like, our home movies, because we're sitting with the cell phone, and one of us is shaking because, it's quicker when she's holding it than when I'm holding it for some reason. The video seems longer when I'm holding it.
Arm strength.
Yeah, which is strengthist. I think that's a thing.
That is.
Right? Strengthist.
Oh.
I'm picking on me because I'm strong or stronger. But we really are. Like I said, if you watch the video, I don't know if we posted that video of her with the name Cheese Cracker.
Nope.
It is.
I'm expecting that in the next episode now.
That's
No,
the
I don't-
secret vault, Ryan.
I think some of the words used in that video were not for children that I might have used.
Okay.
Because
you saying I got to get a few years older? Is that what you're saying? I got to get a little
Yeah,
older? Okay.
we couldn't share it for the public access TV because
Okay. Thank you for my innocent ears. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So the after hours version.
But but you do that. You do that with friends. You do that, and we don't realize that it's part of the magic of what this world is. We're so busy looking at life and thinking how horrible it is and how heavy it is, and everything's been taken from you, blah blah blah. And it's like even in a dust storm is beauty.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A dust storm is beautiful. Right? If you look at it for real, a dust storm is amazing.
Yeah.
But there's a beauty in a tornado, in a hurricane, even in the wreckage of an earthquake. You're like, man, look at this thing. And it doesn't mean that what happened wasn't tragic.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, somebody asks, where's the most beautiful place you've ever seen? And I always talk about sunrises and sunsets. I go by that. And the most beautiful sunset that I've ever seen, in my opinion, was in Mosul, Iraq.
Yeah.
Sitting on top of Saddam Hussein's palace in Mosul, Iraq, watching the purple skies turn. It was some of the most beautiful sunrise and sunsets I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
And I've been all over the world.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, it's a war-torn country. I'm like, yeah, and all this destruction, all these things. I've sitting here taking pictures of sunrise and sunsets. I'm taking pictures of a kid playing soccer in a field that has blown up tanks next to it. Because when you're living in that moment and you're doing exceptionally, you can see the beauty in the chaos.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's kind of where our kindred spirits come from.
Yeah.
We see the beauty in the chaos.
Yeah.
And like I said, she's a teacher, and I'm impressed at how she reaches kids, because she sees the beauty or the intelligence or the gift in the chaos that is an emotional wreck of a child.
Yeah.
We talk about all the time. I'm in awe of her as a teacher, and that all falls under L.E.T.M.E.
So what do you guys have for plans for the future of L.E.T.M.E? I mean, is it something that does it have an expiration date? It's just going to go until it no longer has, no longer bring joy from it?
I never really thought about that, Ryan, but like we started off with those road trips, and it went into like the discussion of race, and then it went into our spotlight series, and then it went into, oh, this person said this, so let's go see what that's all about. It's funny because you had said like serendipitous. I mean, even the program itself has many faces, and different iterations of it. And I guess that's it. I don't know. I don't think about an expiration. I think about what next. What's going to inspire us to? What inspiration is going to get us? Like, we just learned how to play pickleball.
Cool.
Just so, and then
that's one of our next episodes.
Episode 1 was about taking a ferry, but this one's about pickleball. It's like, how do those two relate? Well, they relate because they're living every tiny moment exceptionally. So the world is really ours to explore. So
I love it.
I think of this like this. When you go on a beach that has the rocks, one of those rock pebble beaches, when you have all the pebbles, right? And you stand on a mile-long beach, and has all these pebbles. If you picked up each pebble will look different. In a mile-long beach of pebbles, there's an infinite amount of pebbles on that beach. That is a percentage of the number of things that we can do with Let.Me and Let.Me the journey. I mean, that is a percentage of what we can do. In this particular iteration of it, it plays off of what April and I do as friends. Our relationship and how we, when we are two teenage kids, which is kind of how we act. We're two teenage kids. We're like, let's do that.
We got the keys to the car.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's do that. And again, life has changed drastically since we started. She has a puppy now that, has to be accounted for. I have a horse that's pretending to be a dog. It's also a puppy. Well, my puppy at 5 months is bigger than her, 2-year-old dog, 1.5-year-old dog. Yeah, she's a horse that's pretending to be a dog. And so we don't have the free time. And so we have to plan out some of our things. Now, what are we going to do? Like we're going to be working on another episode here, where the next episode is going to be about a discussion.
Right.
We're going to be having, which we think is the very that she came up with her kids. And we're like, oh, so we're going to be sitting down just having, so our entire episode is probably going to look just like what you're seeing right now in this camper that we're sitting in doing this podcast. But that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And pickleball and, whatever.
Whatever.
But there's an infinite amount of things that we can do as long as her and I
are capable of doing it.
Teenagers still wanting to, as I said, until she murders me.
Or that.
Yeah. I mean, 90% of the time, I think she still cares about me and wants to hang out with me.
Ryan is recording this, so no comment.
I can cut this part out. I probably won't. But
again, once I have been murdered, I don't care who the police are checking on. So her and my wife can both be suspects. I don't care.
There you go.
Strangers on a train.
Yeah.
The whole show seems like there's unlimited topics. There's unlimited. If life touches it, you guys can hit on it. You guys can explore it, do whatever you want. And until you guys are incapable of driving a car or going anywhere and experiencing life, keep going.
Yeah.
We walked a marathon for a show.
Yeah.
Walked a marathon?
We walked 24 miles.
We made our own marathon. We decided to take a stroll around Port Orchard. And so we did it in 6 hours. Yeah. We did 24 because we wanted to do it. Why not?
But here's something I just thought of, and I know, that the power of Let.Me, the journey, is this. You wanted to interview us because we're authors and you're building your book podcast. And you're like, hey, you guys are authors. And so I wrote 3 books. April's written a book. We're both writing another book we have in the works. Yet on your book podcast, you said, hey, I like this idea. Yeah. Let's talk about Let.Me the journey, which has nothing, which is not a book. Nope. You're saying, so that is the power of what we are trying to bring to the world. Yeah. It's to open doors and go, you know what? Yeah, you should play tennis, but pickleball is kind of like tennis. Let's play pickleball, right? We're here on your show, and and you were excited about like, oh, you know what? This is really interesting. It's different. Yeah. And I imagine that if we'd have brought this idea to you when you first started, you'd be like, no, I'm really focusing on books. I'm focusing on this. But you happen to interview us both first and found an excitement in what we are doing now. Yeah. And this whole podcast has nothing to do with book.
Well, honestly, books have to do, they draw from life. They draw from experience. They draw from existence. So to me, what you're doing is fueling the energy for book writing, for writing. Like you said, you're not a reader, Sean, you're not a reader, but you write quite a bit. You've had 3 books, you have a blog and everything. You do write. It's just you pull your knowledge and your experience and everything, inspiration from life, not necessarily reading other people's works.
Yeah.
So I mean, honestly, I see how they relate beautifully. I see how they relate beautifully. And then April, you said you got inspiration to write your book from living in Hawaii.
Right.
You didn't read, you necessarily read a book and was like, I'm inspired to write a book. You just were living in Hawaii. You're like, this is beautiful. I want to tell a story.
Yes.
To me, life and books kind of, they go together. I mean, they just really do. So when you guys pitched the idea for this, I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to jump on this and have some fun with it, I think. And so far we've had a great time. I've had some fun.
Yeah. I'll let you guys. No, it's an amazing thing. And and we're always happy to sit and just yeah.
Yeah.
We're good. We're good at that part.
Yes. Just enjoy. It's just enjoy. That's what you got to do. You got to do it. Life is crazy and busy, but you got to be able to enjoy. Plain and simple. So at the end of the day, at the end of existence, what are you guys hoping, just in a nutshell? It might be a big nutshell. Okay. Well, exactly. Couldn't see Sean just opening his arms wider and wider. What do you guys hope to people learn and get out of Let.Me? We've already kind of said it, but just a roundabout way.
April.
So in a nutshell, I would love for folks to see what we're doing and say, what if and why not? So what if I went outside? What if I did this? What if I smiled to somebody? What if I checked out my backyard? What if I wonder where this road goes?
Right.
Just that, because I think that is just food for joy. I mean, that really is.
For joy.
Because like you've said a couple of times, and we've said this time and again, is you only have so much time. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not live it?
Why not? I love it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why not?
And so for everybody who has not seen it yet, because they have not gone on the awesome bandwagon that is Let.Me, where can we find Let.Me? Where can we go enjoy the videos, the episodes?
Yeah, if you're in our local area, then Bremerton Kitsap Access Television is one place to go. And that's where most of our episodes are currently. We are working to put all of those episodes on YouTube to expand, people's access to it. So you can check us out at Let Me the Journey on YouTube. You can also find Let Me the Journey on Facebook, where you will find the link to the YouTube as well, and vice versa. That's where you find us.
That's where you find us.
Well, that's where you find our video, because who knows where we're going to be.
Yeah.
They literally could be anywhere. So they could be in the room with you right now and you wouldn't know it. So just so
we would be. You would know it because I'm big.
And he likes to talk to people, so he's going to make himself known. It's a thing. It's a thing.
Yes.
It's
you can find us, and we try, and we love to respond to people about this. Somebody takes time to watch a video and they take time to respond and say something about it. We try to respond. We love to talk to people, and we love to get advice from people. Hey, you should try this. That isn't the norm.
Yeah.
That isn't, it's cookie cutter, as April used to always say to me. Don't want cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody goes to paradise in Mount Rainier. Right. Everyone goes to paradise on Mount Rainier. But there's so much more. It takes you an hour to get from the bottom to the top of Rainier driving. So, that's a huge mountain. There's more to it than just paradise.
Yes.
And if you watched our episode of Mount Rainier, of Mount Rainier, you notice we wound up going on a gondola ride at Crystal Mountain, which we had no idea that we were there. That one of my favorite pictures is from at the top of that gondola ride.
Yeah.
Good. I did it again. I went off on it.
His nutshell is my nutshell.
I'd use a different nut.
You did. Coconut. What's a coconut?
That's right.
Coffee covered nut.
Hazelnut.
Peanut. Hashtag pay me.
Sorry. I love it so much. Well, guys, this has been awesome. We have definitely beat the time. Just by the way,
35 minutes. That's what we're in, right?
Yeah, we're at exactly 35 minutes.
Yes.
And about 50 more. So there you go. I totally saw it coming, so it's okay. I have.
There's two of us.
Yeah, right. That's why I'm like 35
minutes. 35
to
35.
Yeah. There you go. Math. See? It's a thing.
I didn't fail math. I failed English. Yeah.
Plural maths.
Math.
I lived in England. Maths.
Maths. With an F.
That's even worse.
FTO. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, guys, this has been awesome. And I'm really thankful that you guys came on together and took time out of your busy, crazy schedules of exploring the world to talk to me about Let.Me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Ryan.
My
pleasure.
Fun. It was so fun. It's an hour and almost hour and 15 minutes of bliss, just fun, laughter, and amazingness. So I look forward to listening to this again.
We love your low standards and bliss.
Me too.
I appreciate that. We appreciate that.
Be happy where you are with people who are there to, same mindset, all that fun stuff. It's great times. All right. Well, everyone, I hope you have an excellent day, and please go check out their show. It is just, it's marvelous. And it's, you know what? It's getting better too. It's getting better. They're going to see more cool things. So, all right, guys, I hope you have a great day, and everyone take care.
Are you an author? Do you know someone who is? If so, then message me, Ryan Oliver, at ryanmoliver.com to set up a free appointment to discuss being showcased on the Mighty Books podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the Mighty Books YouTube channel and share the link to this and more episodes with your friends and family. Thanks for listening. So long for now. Stay mighty and keep reading.